Alright fellas, welcome back. Following up on our last video, every defensive adjustment in Madden 25. I promised you guys that I would do a video called How to Adjust Like the Pros. Okay? Adjustments are difficult. There's a balance. You have to be able to adjust to win at this game consistently at a higher level. Okay? However, you also want people to force you to adjust at the same time. And so that's one bit of advice I'd like to give is don't over adjust too soon. And generally speaking, unless you're playing somebody that is very crafty, don't over adjust, period. 1 or 2 coverage adjustments is generally enough to win against 90+% of people, okay? So with that said, we're gonna come out in dime 3-2, dollar, right? And I am going to do a video on this. I've got a banger coming up for you guys. It's basically just going to be called cheat code, and it's going to give you guys a roadmap, a very simple roadmap on how to win against over 80% of players. You can win over 80% of your games if you follow the tips in that video that's coming up, okay? So for this one, we're going to come out in dollar. Auto flip is off because there is a blitz in this formation, so I just want to keep this consistent in preparation for the next video. We're going to auto align to base because base is my favorite way to adjust, okay? I think it's the easiest, it disguises your coverages, it just works out the best, and you always want your option defense to be conservative. Now as far as zone drops, in the next video I'm going to show you how to use these with that sort of cheat code that I'm going to give you, that roadmap to victory. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that everything is on default, okay? That's all we have to do. Come out in dime 3-2, and we are going to use DB5, okay? And just so you know, dime 3-2 or dollar is in pretty much, it's in a ton of playbooks. Just use the Chiefs playbook. It has some of the best defenses. If you really want to find the best, all the formations that have dime 3-2, just go to maddenschool.com, look up the Chiefs playbook, and at the bottom of the screen it'll tell you every defensive playbook that has that formation in it. All right, so the reason why I picked DB Fire 2 is because I think it's still this year the Swiss Army knife of defensive plays, okay? Defensive formations, I think dollar's the Swiss Army knife, but DB Fire is for sure the Swiss Army knife of defenses. Last year, when I played a little bit more competitively, this was probably 90+% of the defense that I came out in. I just came out in DB Fire and adjusted. Running this stock, what do we have here? We've basically got a cover 2, right? Sort of a Tampa 2-ish type, right? Not quite, but similar, right? We have soft squats on the outside, vertical hooks on the inside, deep halves on the outside. It's a pretty tough defense to beat in real life. In Madden, the problem we have is we have these sort of seam streaks, and people are wise to the vulnerabilities of this area of the field, okay? So we have to account for that whenever we're making defensive adjustments. Also, last year's adjustment of doing this, pinching, not so highly recommended this year. Okay, it does not work well, and we have a meta blitz that is that it won't work if you pinch. So keeping it like this, you can press if you want to, and I showed you how to do that in the last video. However, I would not recommend that, okay, because the strategy is essentially to come out in double safety go, and I'll explain that in the next video. So if you come out in double safety go, you've got your safeties all the way down in the box, okay? And so you're going to be running the same standard defense all the time. So essentially, it's like a baseline on top of a baseline. But here, what we have is we have 4 wild card players. You can run this defense stock, and it's a very good defense. However, people can beat that. 1 seam streak here, even a drag maybe. You can beat this defense. It's a good defense, but it's not a great defense, okay? So we have 4 wildcard players here. We have our outside blitzing defensive back on the left side. We have our linebacker over here. We have this linebacker, and we have this outside defensive back. Those are wild cards. It means that we can bring the heat every single time, or we can drop all 4 of those guys into coverage. Okay? So, how do we adjust on defense? Let's assume that this is a 1st and 10. We're going to be looking at a run, right? And we're going to be coming out in double safety go. So these guys are going to be dragged down into the box here, right? So you're going to pick either Bernard or Milano as your user. If you're going to come out in a game, my suggestion would be to come out in a cover 4 quarters, right? We can do a cover 4 drop here, right? That would be my suggestion. And I'm not going to get into the plays of DB Fire or in this case dime 3-2, or $1. I'm not going to get into the specific plays, but one of the common setups is to move your linebacker over here, switch to this guy. You can kind of do whatever you want, and then this linebacker will loop through for a quick blitz sack, right? So if you want to stay consistent with your defensive setups most of the time. So if that's what you're doing, drag him over. And if you need to, move this guy over here. Okay? So in this case, we're just going to come out like this in DB Fire, and then we're going to audible to our cover 4 for this particular one. What adjustments would we make here? Okay? What are the weaknesses here? Well, without our zone drops changed, shading underneath, okay? Now we have hard flats over there, okay? And that is, generally speaking, a pretty good way to defend. However, this is bunch, right? What can we do? Well, we can do a lot of things with this, right? We can decide to bring the heat. Triangle, triangle, X down on the right stick. Triangle, triangle, triangle down on the right stick. Now we've got heat, right? And all we have to do to cover the run is just follow this, right? If you're in cover 4, a lot of times it's helpful to use it as safety and follow the run because the linebacker gets to the scrum a little faster, right? So this way we can control. It's personal preference here. But that's really a pretty complicated adjustment to come out on 1st and 10, right? We're taking a pretty heavy risk. We've got deep coverage here, so we're not going to get beat deep probably, especially with the heat that we're bringing. But we're opening ourselves up to some middle passes here that could be problematic, right? So that's probably an over adjustment for 1st and 10. But on 2nd and 7, that's a pretty good adjustment, right? Let's reset the play. Let's go back to cover 4 drop. Okay? And what would we do? We said that we would just shade underneath. I think this is the perfect 1st and 10 play. First play of the game, why would you not come out like this? Right? And if you have to, you bring this guy over here to make him think that you're running the tricky blitz, right? And this is a pretty good setup for 1st and 10. See what your opponent does. If he hits you on corner strike, because that's a very common thing coming out in corner strike and bunch strong, right? If he hits you on corner strike, bunch strong offset that is. If he hits you on corner strike, okay, now you know this guy is a little bit sweaty, right? So, but this is a perfect example of not over adjusting. Just setting it up like this. When we reset the play, and we set things up the way that we had before, let's go triangle, triangle, X. Let's put him into a hard flat. And let's go triangle, triangle, circle, and let's put him into a cloud flat. And I think that's a better setup because this guy will be shooting out for the hard flat, and this guy will be coming back here to play the corner, right? So we've pretty well got things bagged up over there on the right side if they do come out in double corners or even a single corner, right? That's a perfect 2nd and 7 adjustment. Maybe we're worried about a crosser, right? So let's go right on the D-pad, X, up on the right stick, and let's go with R1. And now we've manned him up on Kelsey, right? We've manned him up on that slot receiver. So this is our user, and we're free to roam the middle. If they do a high-low, right, a verts dig, this guy comes off on a drag, this guy comes on a post, This guy is bagged because he's going to come out here and he's going to shoot up here on a streak. The only thing that's dangerous is this running back who could come over through here and fill the middle, right? But we do have our user here. So if he comes down on a drag, we can cover it. This guy would probably be on a pull route, a streak. So we've just bagged Vert's dig. Okay, we've bagged, Durham last year. We've bagged that on 2nd and 7, which is the perfect time to run Vert's dig. That is a user adjustment that is excellent. It's an excellent user adjustment. It's not too adjusty, but it's adjusty enough that it's disruptive. And it's because we have pegged the formation, right? We know it's bunch strong, offset. In this case, it's bunch strong, nasty, right? Same difference in many ways. But we've bagged the most important routes. We've bagged the high-low read over the middle. We've bagged the potential for corner routes on this side. And we're cognizant that that running back could come through this area. And we can just take that, right? We can take that with our user if we want to. Or we can just leave it as is, And frankly, we could go triangle, triangle, X up on the right stick triangle. And now we've manned that running back up and we've taken care of that problem, right? So now, is that an over adjustment? I don't think so. I don't think so, because this guy might come out here. The cloud flat's going to be backing up. The worst that can happen is they'll hit him quickly, right? That's a cat and mouse game. That's a cat and mouse game. Triangle, triangle, X, hard flat, or triangle, triangle, X, manned up on the running back. And those are in-game decisions. These are the types of decisions that pro players make based on tendencies, guesses, instincts, right? And that comes from just playing Madden a lot. Frankly, you're safe doing either, right? So in this case, I would just put him on a hard flat. It's the second play of the game. It's 2nd and 7. Put him on a hard flat. Triangle, triangle, X. Gosh. Hard flat. There we go. This is a great way to see what your opponent's going to do. He's going to be cognizant of this blitz because we moved this guy over here. We have really good leverage on the inside because this linebacker's over here, right? So on this, if this guy comes on a post, it's going to be really hard for him to get open. And if he does, we've got this deep zone out here for help, right? At least for a while. So I think this is a perfect adjustment for 2nd and 7. And let's say that we get a sack, or let's say that he throws the ball out of bounds, because we do still have some heat coming over here on the outside, right? So let's just say that it's 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 9, one of those two, right? Let's reset the play. And again, we're coming out in double safety go, and we're audibling to DB fire in this case, right? So that's why our safeties are in the box. So in this case, we're set up right about how we would be. What do we want to do? Well, I think something similar. So what happened on the last play was we noticed that he went ahead and brought that running back out here, okay? So we know that he's cognizant of that. He knows how to set up Durham or Birch Dig or whatever you want to call it, right? We know that. We have to decide now, do we want to bring the heat and rely on the heat on the 3rd and 9, or do we want to play cover? And that is a decision that you have to make as the user, as the potential pro player. Okay? You have to decide that. And this is how I'm talking about adjusting like the pros. You can make all sorts of adjustments. You're not adjusting like the pros. You have to think about the most efficient ways to adjust. And it's actually very simple once you do. So, in this case, do we really want to stick with this Tampa 2 sort of style defense? No, we're going to be bringing this guy over here again. And we're free to do whatever we want with this guy and these 4 guys. So we brought heat from the left side, and we got enough pressure that we got him to throw the ball away. So what do we want to do in this case? We could do several things, right? My suggestion is to look at the style of play that your opponent played on 2nd and 7. 2nd and 7, he brought that running back out, right? So we know this guy's sweaty. Bringing that running back out knows that he knows how to set up Durham reverse dig. He knows how to set up high and low reads. He's probably not going to go back to that play because we just stuffed it. So I'm thinking we need to bank, in this case, since he came out in Durham on the 2nd play, I'm thinking we need to really focus on corner strike or flood, right? One of those. And the easiest way to solve that is to do what we did last time. Put circle into a cloud flat and put square into a hard flat, right? I think that's the easiest way to solve that. Mabel that right side, okay? And if we really want to limit the concern that he might go back to Durham, so one of the ways that we can do that is we can do something with coverage, on the left side. So, in my opinion, he's got to worry about this. I don't think it's a good idea to mess with coverage on the left side. I think bring that heat. Only thing we could do is triangle, triangle, square, up on the right stick, square. Okay? And now we've got that guy manned up. So the only problem with that is if this guy comes over here on a post, we might be getting beaten a little bit, but we do have deep help. So that might be a pretty good adjustment, actually. And if he does bring this guy out in the flat, well, he's screwed, right? Over here, we've got the Mabel set up. So we're probably pretty safe in terms of an RPO, right? But let's go twice right on the D-pad. Let's press Milano, and let's go up on the right stick, and let's go with X. Does that look good? I'm not sure, because we have a Mabel on the right side. Maybe, maybe not. I think it's a good play, but I think you also need to consider doing this. Putting him into a middle third, right? Now we've set up a cover 3 shell, because he may come out with something that we're not used to, that we're not expecting. And that cover 3 shell will help protect us. Not perfectly, but it will help, right? And we just need to be cognizant of the seam streak over here, which is going to be difficult with the safety down here in the box, right? So at snap, we may want to do this and then scoot over here, right? And this is how pros adjust. It's not just the adjustments, it's what you're planning on doing after. So in this case there's a seam streak, we're going to move over here. We've got this blitzer coming down, so that's going to be a dangerous throw. So if we just sort of slide just a yard or two over here and then come back toward the middle, now we're pretty safe, right? The only issue is if he does do a post with this guy, we need to be able to cover that because we don't want to give up the first down, right? So instead, if he does do the exact same play Durham again, we cannot bite on the tight end on the drag. We have to go ahead and cover the post. If he does do corner strike, he's bagged, and he's in trouble. I think this is a very fair setup. He has to be cognizant of this guy. So if he dares bring this running back out, he knows we know what the loop blitz is. And he thinks it's 3rd down. He's going to be thinking that loop blitz is coming in this time. Most likely. So if he's even thinking that at all, right? If he's not aware, you're probably going to win this game anyway, right? So I think this is a pretty good setup. We've got this guy manned up in case there's anything on the outside. We've got our blitz coming. We've got a Mabel over here. And we just have to sort of feather our way over here in case there's a seam streak that he wants to throw, which is going to be difficult for him, right? And then we feather our way back. We'll know if it's a post. Second the ball's snapping, he gets to about right here. So by the time we feather, if we see Kelsey, the slot receiver, scooting over here, all we have to do is back up. And we've got that post covered. Then he's going to hit that drag, and we could come in down here and make the tackle. I think this is a really good 3rd and 9 setup, you guys. notice it's not a lot of adjustments. We've only adjusted 3 guys, right? We put a hard flat over here. We turned the soft squat into a cloud flat, you know, put this guy in the middle third, and we manned this guy up. So 4 adjustments, okay? It seems like a lot, but it's really not, because one of these is just changing the coverage shell. We really haven't done a lot here, and everything we do, we can get this done before the line, before the defense even gets fully lined up. We can make these adjustments, right? It's a pretty good defense against the RPO too, by the way, right? And if we do see that it's an RPO, we'll notice it right away, and we'll be trailing, and we'll have all these guys out here already taking up blockers. Trust me, it's a pretty good RPO defense out of bunch strong, right? So I think this is pretty good. And this is what adjusting like the pros is. It doesn't mean that we're perfect here. We do have weaknesses. They put this guy on a drag. Our defensive back that's manned up on him is never catching up with him. But we're here. So even if they do that, we've minimized our risk. We're not getting beat over top. We've got fairly heavy heat coming. We've got a cover 3 shell. Corner strike, taken care of. Durham or Verts dig, whatever you want to call it, taken care of as long as we're cognizant. We just need to know why we made those adjustments. And that's how adjusting like the pros is different than adjusting like an amateur. You're adjusting with purpose. And with each adjustment, it adjusts your user's responsibility. Like I've said in videos before, you want to minimize your user responsibility. It's the most important thing when it comes to becoming a user demon, right? Is minimizing your responsibility and never breaking from that unless that's part of your responsibility, right? I think we're pretty well set here. And we run the play, and what happens most likely, I think we shut this guy down because of those first 2 plays, right? This is a pretty solid tutorial here on how to adjust like the pro, okay? And you can see it worked out, right? Let's look on instant replay. He didn't even call the play we thought he was going to call, right? It's a play action, so we had to think RPO, but look over at the right side of the screen. We had defenders out there to cover that RPO, and our user could have covered that RPO fine. We went straight for the post, see? And notice the corner route, bagged. So you guys, that was a perfect example. I don't even remember what offensive play we called, honestly, but it was a perfect example of we made adjustments, right? Let's see if anybody was open. There wasn't. Let's do it one more time. Let me see if there's anybody open. We had basically a C route with this guy. Late developing, right? Notice there's fairly intense heat because we blitzed that guy. The only thing open was that running back in the flat there who was actually, you know, he was in no man's land, right? Our heat got there before everything was covered. Kelsey, or not Kelsey's route, Gray's route, a wasted route, right? Our heat got there. You guys, this is how you adjust like the pros. I think this is the perfect example. We now have a 4th and 9. He's either going to punt or we go back to the same thing, right? The same thing. And in that case, I might even do something like go cover 4 drop, right? You know, and honestly, I would do the loop blitz in this case. So this guy would be blitzing. It's not going to work because I'm manually setting up. We'd move him over here, you know. See, if you audible it, if you make an adjustment, once you cross this plane, he goes over here. But if we just set up the normal cover 4 out of dollar, we would put him over here. I would do the loop blitz, and I would shade down, and essentially I would cover the sticks, L1, right? And obviously our safeties would be down here. And I would let this play out in this case, right? Because we brought heat two plays in a row. Now we're bringing the real heat, the meta heat. And he's thinking we don't know how to do the loop blitz, right? But this guy is going to be looping in and coming with crazy pressure. And since it's 4th and 9, I'm not thinking he's blocking his running back because he hasn't seen us do the loop blitz, right? So in that case, we've just slammed him, right? We've just slammed him. All we have to do is make simple adjustments. Hard flats, we brought our safeties down in the box. Frankly, if we really wanted to take a chance, triangle, triangle, square, up on the right stick, square, right? And just keep our inside zones. Triangle, triangle, circle, up on the right stick, R1, right? And in this case, we could triangle, triangle, square. Let's go ahead and put him back into a deep half. And let's go ahead and go triangle, triangle, X, blitz, right? We could do something like that, right? But my preference would be to just do cover 4 with the loop blitz. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video, okay? And shade down, and I think that we're gold. We've got high pressure play, and he's going to have to get those he's going to have to get those passes off fast. He's still got 9 yards to go. But really, what we've done is we've essentially just summed up how to think and how to adjust based on your opponent and on the first possession of the game, right? We've shown how to do that. We came out in cover 4 or DB fire in the first play, and we adjusted. We came out in DB fire on the next 2, and we adjusted, and it worked, and we got him into a 4th and long, right? And when it's 4th and long, all bets are off in Madden, to be honest. That's why the loop blitz, in the way we set it up this time, we kept the loop blitz in our pocket, right? And that loop blitz now is probably going to be our savior because there's no way he thinks we know how to use the loop blitz now, unless he's an astute pro-level player himself, right? And that loop blitz is going to come in. He's going to have less than 2 seconds to make a read. And all we have to do is cover the middle, right? So that's how to adjust like the pros, you guys. Think situationally. Think about your user responsibility with every adjustment. How does your adjustment change your user responsibility? And how do you essentially disrupt the most common meta routes, right? Verts, dig, or Durham with the post here from Kelsey and the drag from Gray, or corner strike. Gray's going to come out in a streak. Kelsey's going to come out in a deep corner, and the outside receiver is going to come out in a short corner. We've got those things bagged up because we already know what plays to expect, right? And if you see somebody and he's doing some different routes out of this formation, you have to just adjust with that, right? Just understand, okay, he's got a different type of offense. Figure that offense out. See what he does, what gets open, and adjust. If he's got a money route, the best thing to do is bag that route, right? Remember, Kelsey's route, the slot receiver's route in this formation, is generally going to be one of your meta routes. It's either going to be a post or it's going to be a deep corner, right? And so that's what you need to look out for. And then every once in a while you can do things like, let's go back to DB Fire for this. Every once in a while you can do things like, we're always going to keep this linebacker here again because of that meta blitz. Every once in a while you do things like, doing a cover 3, but then triangle, triangle, X, and a vert hook, right? He's going to be thinking this running back coming out here is going to be open, and he might just throw it from muscle memory or because of the heat that's coming, and you got a vert hook here for the pick or the disrupt, right? Those are just the types of things you need to think about, okay? And there are no wrong ways to adjust, okay? People are going to say that's stupid. You know, doing this, manning him up on Hopkins, this outside guy over here. Some people would say that's stupid. It's not. It's not stupid as long as you know what you're doing, right? And remember in that case, we manned him up and he came out in a C route. We were on it, right? We were on it. That route was not going to be open in time, right? He came over in a drag. Okay, fine. It's a drag, right? We've got plenty of other defenders over here. We'll take note of that, and the next time we won't do that. We'll just keep him in his normal zone. But that can be disruptive. You guys just have a purpose with how you adjust. I know that I'm kind of rambling on here, but this is so important. Go back and watch my how to make defensive adjustments video for Madden 24, because I do a very similar thing. You know, I talk about different adjustments that you can make, but this was more situational. We went from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 7 to 3rd and 7 to 4th and 9 or 7, right? We went through that that progressive thought pattern. You know, our thought process was progressive, it was observational, and it was purposeful. And that's what separates, honestly, average players and decent players. That's what separates the pros from them. Okay? So you guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Really be on the lookout for that next video. That next video, it really is going to be a cheat code. Okay? There was a cheat code in Madden 24 last year with the free safety zone blitz in dollar, and you know, bunch offset, you know, bunch strong offset. That was a cheat code last year. But I'm just going to give you a quick cheat code. I'm going to try to make it a less than 10-minute video. 2 defensive plays to use, and 4 offensive plays to use. And you're going to be able to win over 80% of your games with that. So be on the lookout for that next video. As always, you guys, have a great day.